Wolf Clock Productions, Wolf Clock here. I just wanted to do a quick dev commentary on my map in Portal Collab 2023, name of the Quinton Factory. So let's get right into things. Spoilers ahead, if you have not played all the way through Portal Collab yet, I will be showing off all the little Easter eggs and neat little things I put in, as well as explaining my process during development. So let's get right into it.
Frankly, this chamber was a mistake. If we were you, we would quit now.
So first things first.
To ensure the safe performance of all authorized activities, do not destroy vital testing apparatus.
That one screams. That's all. So when we first began, we were told that only use tricks that are available to regular players or can be easily telegraphed. And that includes portal bumping, so my first thoughts were to make a portal bumping chamber. I will say the first thing that I decided was portal bumping and the name of the map, the Quinton Factory. You saw it right there, you may have not been able to see it, but there's a Quinton that just walked that way. Literally, my initial plan was, okay, it's going to be portal bumping, it's going to be called the Quinton Factory, and I just had to figure out what that meant going forward. Eventually, my decision about the story is what wound up in the final game, being a version of the Enrichment Center where instead of having different test subjects, they just repeatedly cloned Quinton, but we'll get more into that as we go through. So first things first, one of the things that I really pushed for and wanted to use in my chamber was parallax-corrected cube maps. I think it gives a very nice effect here. This is a texture that is in the source files, but winds up not being used in the final game. So I went ahead and put that in here. It's nice and shiny and reflective. I have that and the windows here to help show the realistic reflections in the main chamber. So first things first, as per the name of the chamber, I wanted there to be Quintons that you could see, like, out of the corner of your eye, but could never really access throughout the chamber. So the first one we saw walking this way. Second one is here. So if you look up at the glass for just about a second or so, a Quinton will walk by. Anyway, let's move on into the first subchamber. I called this one the Rooms. You'll never guess why. I knew pretty early on that one of the things I really wanted in my chamber was to have a very, like, I'm not sure if confusing is the right word, but very strange aesthetic and vibe to it. So what I thought for first area the player comes to is a selection of repeating rooms that seem to go on infinitely. And I was very worried about this from a game design standpoint because I was afraid of how I would be able to actually turn this into a puzzle. What I ultimately decided on was just making it exploration and the player finds the cube. There are only actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 rooms to go through. So it doesn't take too long once you figure that out, and it's right here. But this is our second, or third rather, Quinton apparition. He runs by as soon as you enter this room with the cube in the corner. Moving on back out, we can get to the main meat of the chamber, which was observation hallway.
Someone is going to get badly hurt.
So the observation hallway was a number of experimental things. First things first, I wanted this to be the main bulk of the chamber where portal bumping is put to use, because it's really not utilized at all in the first room. It's just an aesthetic chamber. But as we enter in here, you can see there is this giant custom parallax corrected cube map of additional hallways, which just seems to go on infinitely. If you look very closely, you can sort of see the cutoff. This was a very fun and difficult challenge to get this whole section here working. So what I eventually wound up doing was I made a custom version of this hallway, and then I took that and placed it into Blender. And then while I was in Blender, I manually rendered out a cube map from Blender. I believe it was like super high resolution, far too high resolution to even function in Engine. But after that, I just tinkered around until I could get the cube map itself working. And this entire wall is just a pure white texture with a cube map on it that is mapped to all this. I was able to figure out how custom parallax corrected cube maps work just by decompiling the map with some parallax corrected cube maps and taking a look at the resulting materials. That thankfully allowed me to get the exact settings needed for this material so that it would look proper in game. But obviously this is just a screen. What I wanted to have originally was make it fade in as you get closer to it, but I ran out of time, couldn't figure out a good way of having that function. So that is how it is. But if you look around the chamber, there's a whole bunch of weird and different stuff. This is the place where we want to go, denoted by the cube icon. As you can see, there's a Quinton in there staring at a computer monitor. And up here we have a button that we need to get to. Voila. So this room is the first one that really uses portal bumping as a feature, and I tried to be pretty hand-holdy at the start here just to sort of help players figure it out. So there's a little tiny hole here if you really still can't figure out portal bumping to shoot a portal through. But I believe that's the last time I have something like that. So now we're in the out-of-bounds areas. Again, more parallax corrected cube maps on all surfaces. I really wanted it to look a little bit of a cut above the rest, if you will. This room I just put the jellyfishes in because I thought it would be funny. You can get into both these rooms by portal bumping, and that was done with intention, obviously, because the whole chamber is about portal bumping. I should expect that players will try it if they know how to do it. This is all lore for the chamber. It explains how the reason why GLaDOS is so pessimistic and why you keep seeing like these apparitions of Quinton. Quinton, of course, is just the name of the old placeholder player model before they made Shell. But the basic lore of the Quinton factory is that this is a parallel Earth with a parallel aperture that just prior to the activation of GLaDOS, they attempted to begin cloning Quinton, being the best testing participant they had to date, and technically being aperture property. And the idea is that they took over, the Quinton clones took over, they have like a psychic bond between each other. And yeah, one of the big things that I wanted to really nail down for this chamber was to make sure that things are lore friendly. And so almost nobody will be able to tell this, but 3.14.03 is supposed to be just a few days before the activation of GLaDOS in universe. We believe that the events of Portal 1 took place in 2003 due to circumstances I can't quite explain in simple terms. But 3.14.03 is just a few days before the events of the Bring Your Daughter to Work Day / Resonance Cascade. So there's a little fun something there for people who are really invested in the lore. This room as well is another Quinton apparition. Walks right by the window. I made very certain that you wouldn't see him disappear out of existence, even if you're like as far up against the wall as possible. But you can hop in here, there aren't any no draws, and Quinton is of course absent. I really wanted to get that feeling of like there's somebody here and something might not be right, and maybe there's supernatural stuff going on. Just for the reveal at the ending of the chain, just that Quinton's actually like looking out for you as a friend. Anyway, moving on, we have this door. This is the first location where I have an actual like there's no way around it. You have to portal bump here, which unfortunately, even though this is the easiest portal bump known to mankind, apparently some people have been having trouble with it. Yeah, I think... Okay, unless it's not right up against the side, then there's no way to mess up this portal bump. Like, it's all visible here. So, there we go. And this room, there's no reason for this room to exist. This room doesn't make sense in, like, a logical space at all. But, that's alright. Nobody's really going to be thinking about that except for me. You shoot up through the vent, and that is going to take you back to the observation hallway. With the button from earlier. So you click it, this button turns this wall over and also breaks the glass so you can escape back into here. And this wall being turned over just lets you into the cube room, which now actually has a cube as opposed to a Quinton staring at the screen. Again, one of the big things that I did for this chamber, that is very strange what I'm seeing right now. That's very strange, that turning there. One of the big things I did for this chamber was I made sure that you don't really know what you're seeing until the very end. So all the Quintons, they could be there, or they could be like apparitions, or they could just be like ghosts.
Maybe you think you're helping yourself, but you're not. This isn't helping anyone.
You know what? There is one more thing that I forgot to mention in this chamber, which is these cube buttons here. So, Portal 2 adds cube buttons in, but there is an unused model with an unused texture, or rather two unused textures for the cube button in a Portal 1 style. So what I did was I remade the inactive version, I believe, yeah, this texture. I remade this texture. I refitted the cube button so that the size fits Portal 1 cubes because they're slightly larger, and I used those for my chamber. I did also open it up for anybody else who wanted to use them. Those are in the repository, but I think I was the only one. Anyway, we're moving on to the third section here, which is another portal bump. The first thing that I thought about for here was, okay, I want the players, both of the players' portals to be used up here, but I don't want to have a fizzler. I don't want to use a cube fizzler, the green one, because some players might not know what those are. Obviously, the green fizzlers started being used in some other chambers anyway, so it didn't really matter. But you know, I wanted to make sure that things were as best understood by newer players as possible. I say being the guy who made the portal bump chamber. But anyway, I don't remember if I had a name for this section. It might have been called Turret Bowling. There's the last hidden Quinton there. There's the last hidden Quinton. Every so often in this little dark space, you can see a Quinton go by through this pipe just with his arms crossed. I wanted to give the implication of, like, he is not happy about this situation, so his arms crossed. Over here we got another portal bump. Just come in here. And we heard that. That was the sound of a button deactivating, which we will see the reason for shortly. I wanted there to be some, like, at least artificial danger here, where the solution has to be use a portal bump to get through. Just more player training, to be honest. Because at this point, we're already nearing the end of the chamber, so you should know how to portal bump from here. Either way, I just want it to be something that looked kind of cool. I remember at this point I was starting to run a bit low on time, so this must be from the invisible portal dimension that's causing the turning here. I believe I was running a bit low on time. I think I was either watching the Wayne Radio TV Sonic Subathon, or I was watching an edit together of a Wayne Radio TV Sonic Subathon stream. Oh, no
one will blame you for giving up. In fact, quitting at this point is a perfectly reasonable response.
Okay, so I wasn't looking just then. That was my mistake. Basically, when you walk back in here, you see a Quinton running from this button, holding a cube in his hand. He runs back over here. I made sure to close the other two doors so that the player would not get confused and try to go down either one of these directions. very walled off, very hand-holdy, but there's only so much to be done to ensure that players don't get off the beaten path. Anyway, and here is the big reveal, if you haven't already figured it out from the other parts of the chamber, that Quintons are being cloned. So we have, this is the first big reveal. You can see, oh my god, there's a clone. You open this door, and obviously there's 100 more clones. This section gave me a lot of trouble. I believe the main issue was that most of these props, which were copied from the Flash version map pack, most of these props were dynamic props and had like extra details inside them, and that just filled out the edict limit. So I made all these guys into static props. The Quintons are just Quintons, and it was the big reveal that there was this whole cloning vat chamber thing. The feeling that I was hoping for players here was that they'd be a little bit like disturbed, a little bit scared. Is Quinton the bad guy? Is he coming after you? Why is he sabotaging the plan here? Why is GLaDOS being all like strangely discouraging? Blah blah blah. But you come in here, and I should have fixed this. If I were to have just put a light down, this would have fixed this. There's supposed to be hand smears like pointing down towards the cube on the wall here, and they're definitely still there. You just can't see them at all because it's so dark. But head on back through. The moment you pick up the cube, all the Quintons are gone. So that was something I wanted to do, just to like imply, oh no, they're all loose, they've escaped. Most players probably won't notice these guys being gone, but this one also disappears, which should spell it out easily. I believe there's a reason why I didn't include the like breather thing here as part of things that get disappeared, but I definitely had a reason. I think it was just breaking for me or something. But anyway, we've got the last cube back. We come back in here and we initiate the ending sequence.
You come into my enrichment center, break out of my testing trap, finger my floppy drive, and call me gay.
That's a pretty good voice line done by REB, who did all the custom GLaDOS lines for the project here. You can see there's a Quinton that drops this lift for you so that you don't die. Had a bit of trouble with this section. It's hard to see, but there are holes in the ceilings, and there are dead Quintons on the ground. As you're descending, there's a Quinton that falls out of that one and goes underneath. So the ground here actually is not solid at all. The problems with this particular type of ground in Portal is that it messes with the Portal stuff frequently. A lot of people mess up on this part too. This is the last Portal bump. At this point, you should be a Portal bumping master, so it shouldn't matter, but some players don't notice it. So another thing here is the actual lift is a little bit further down than a clip brush here. I just have this clip brush so that you can shoot portals. I didn't want to take any chances with the moving brush on the ground. But an issue that I had earlier on was as you were going through the portal, you would take damage just for like one tick, which it was gross. So I think I just moved up the clip brush a little bit here so that wouldn't happen. If you're paying close attention, you'll notice that the portal's on top of like an invisible wall, but most players aren't going to notice that, so I figured it was fine. Anyway, this is the Quinton Resistance.
You made it just in time. We gotta clear out of here before we're discovered.
I don't know why his mouth doesn't move for that one. This one always gave me trouble for some reason. This is the first Quinton in this room. Got a whole collection of the boys in here. I guess myself included.
Hi.
Hi. I'd like to help you, but it's out of the question.
Was that you knocking? I didn't even know we still had a door.
So earlier on, these guys drew from the sound effect directly, which worked fine. It gave them the correct, male voice for each of them. But I realized pretty close to the end of development, or maybe even during the bug testing, bug fixing phase that if I loaded the sound effect directly, it wouldn't play the closed captions. So what I wound up doing was I just pulled the actual game sounds for each of these sounds from Half-Life 2, put those into a game sound script, and the result is that now does show the closed captions, with the caveat being, I guess I set them all to,
Was that you knocking? I didn't even know we still had a door.
I set them all to only play once, but you may have heard some of them use female voice lines. All of them, for some reason, over here near the origin point of the map, you can hear the opposite gender's voice talking whatever line they're saying. So this guy says hi, and this one says hi. This one says, "Can't you see I'm busy?" You can hear it over there for some reason. Don't know how the solution to that would be, but it doesn't matter.
Good luck out there!
I'll tell you good luck. And this is supposed to be like, you know, behind the scenes area where they have these access doors to like all different locations of the facility. I'm not sure how well that is like implied here, but it was just an idea that I had. Instead of there being a single rat man, there's just tons of Quintons that are running things from behind the scenes. They are your friends. The Quintons are all your friends, of course. Anyway, this is an aperturized version of the front desk section of Lab Level 3A. So if you don't know what any of that means, don't worry. It's not relevant. If you do know what that means, then you'll say, oh, cool. As you can see, parallax cube maps are still being utilized pretty much everywhere here. I just think it gives a nice little added touch, especially for moments like this where there's only a little bit light visible on the cube map, but since it's visible, it's nice that it follows realistically where it should be. But anyway, we get on out through the exit. This makes you lose your portal gun. I think this is all still parallax. No, this is not parallax. I messed up. Forgot to make this one corrected. This section is also from Lab Level 3A. Again, if you don't know what that means, don't worry. If you do know what that means, good on you. We exit into the parking lot. So this is grabbed from the ending of Portal 1. I modified it so that it looks like a proper parking lot.
What are you doing? No.
There we go.
Stop. No. 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 No.
Okay, so I'm going to pause there because if I keep going, then we'll be taken to the ending. I'm actually going to restart on the Quinton factory so I can go out of bounds and show you some interesting things. So give me just a second here. Alright, we're back. I've got SD cheats turned on.
Frankly, this chamber was a mistake. If we were you, we would quit now.
So first things first, I believe... Okay, so he doesn't appear in the compiled map, which is good. To have all the Quintons, you know, the NPCs or just like the props and stuff, there was always a Quinton that was standing in this corner in this observation room, but he's a static prop, which means he doesn't get compiled into the scene. Let me think. Again, Quintons that appear everywhere, like it just blips out of existence there. I will say that when development started and all people had signed up to make chambers, Quinton Factory was not supposed to be the last chamber. We actually look up. Quinton Factory was supposed to be chamber number 12. But as time progressed and people got busy and ran out of time, there were a lot of chamber submissions that wound up not getting finished and winding up in this collab. Hopefully we'll be able to get more people next year, but it is what it is. But mine was supposed to happen initially around the middle of the game. Originally right here in the Quinton hideout down here. This is where the elevator would have been. It was actually pretty last minute when I added this whole ending sequence. I think it took about an hour to make all of this. I would say it was worth it. It was actually an idea that I had pretty early on, even before I knew that my chamber was going to be the last chamber. I was like, you know, it would be kind of funny if, instead of just having an elevator, you go outside, you hear GLaDOS scream, the Quintons blow up the facility, and then you get teleported to the next dimension. But initially I was like, okay, that's a little bit too much to work on, that's too much to do. I'll just have it be a regular door, and that'll be that. But when I was told, hey, we need an ending to the collab, and we don't have one, can yours be the ending? Ozzy and I decided together that the Quinton factory would be the ending of the first Portal collab, and it would end with this explosion being taken back. So that's the first notably interesting thing I have to say here. Over here, let me actually save real quick. I was very worried about the player getting themselves soft locked in this section. Let me bounce on over here. So I was very worried that because there are these like teleporting doors, teleport back to the center here, players would somehow find a way to get their cubes into these like false rooms. And obviously we can't have that, because if a player does that, they won't be able to finish a chamber. So I added things to block the cubes from through all of these extra hallways. However, while I was doing that, I thought, it'd be really funny if I added a secret bad ending to the Quinton factory. So if you accelerate backwards hop long enough, and you can gain infinite speed here. There we go. Bad ending, the silent prison. And it reloads you, but let's see where I put that. This is like a geometry that I hit way out of bounds. Somewhere in the map. Let me turn on full right. Here we go. So down here is where the silent prison ending is. And if I can show triggers toggle, so I can know where the actual trigger is. Okay, good. I guess I'm not gonna die. But if I turn off full bright, you can see this is another parallax corrected cube map. Doesn't work super well. We're out in this little area here, but this was very difficult to get to work. Yeah, the silent prison ending. You just wind up in this like alternate world where suddenly you're trapped inside a little, cell in this super tall chamber of like cells all over the place. This one was incredibly hard to do. So initially I made a map for this whole thing, and it was so big it couldn't even compile in source. But thankfully I could use a BMF importer into Blender to get this whole section into a scene in Blender, at which point I basically just went to where I think the opening of the cell door for the player should be, and I made a cube map. And then I spent a million years desperately trying to figure out how to import the cube map into the engine. So the problem with custom cube maps is that you have to make the HDR and LDR versions by hand, which can get very frustrating. Eventually it did work, but not without some problems, as you can see on the floor here. The floor cube map is just inverted. I thought this would just be a very funny little Easter egg that doesn't really mean much of anything to anyone except for me. Only one person found it during playtesting, which tells me that no one's ever going to see this, but it is still very funny for the few people who actually do manage to find it. Let's see what else we have here that I can show off. So we have 6 hidden Quintons. We showed all of those. Talk about the little voice lines, talk about this whole room, the outdoors area, ending. I think I said everything that needs to be said. I will say, I've heard some people have had trouble with understanding how... That looks super cool. No clip. Some people having trouble understanding how the main gimmick of the chamber works, the portal bumping. I think I may wind up actually adding something into into the chamber and update. Probably just something either like right here or right here, which is just a picture of a portal bump in progress. Hopefully I can get that in before we start sending out the mod to live streamers. But it's not too big of a deal either way. Most people are going to be able to figure out what's supposed to be done here, just because of the, you know, player in a locked box conundrum, or in which if you put a player into a locked box, they will eventually figure out how to get out, or they'll give up, which is, you know, always a danger. Here you can see all of the rooms here. You'll notice I didn't make any rooms in place where it would be necessary, so if we're in this corner, like, you're never going to be able to see a player, so room. Same for here. Like, it's not really noticeable, so I didn't bother. I think if I were to do something differently here, I would probably have changed how this first section operates, or I would have made this not the first section, because the introduction to portal bumping happens right here, and then the main usage of portal bumping happens in here and here, and I guess during the ending. But the first thing that the player does after entering into the main chamber is something that's completely unrelated to portal bumping. So I think in the future I would like to probably make a change there so that players will be able to understand things a little bit better. I don't think I would change the aesthetic of the chambers at all, though. I think the absurdity and the bizarre nature of definitely the first two rooms, at the very least, is exactly what I was looking for. Players really, I've gotten very good positive feedback on how these chambers look. I've heard people say that they look really cool, very strange, very interesting, bizarre, and so I take that as an absolute win. But you know, as far as gameplay goes, I would make just a couple adjustments to hopefully make the main draw of the chamber more easily understood for players. But anyway, with all that being said and done, I have been Wolfclog. I will see you all in the next video whenever it may be. If you would like to stay up to date with Portal Collab, and even potentially like to be a member of Portal Collab 2024, which will be starting in a couple of months, I will provide a link to the Discord directly underneath here. And as always, thank you for watching.